Hello everybody, welcome back to number 2 of the dev stream. We're going to go through this again. This time I changed up the way in which we were going to do it. I put it into DaVinci so that instead of just scanning through it and seeing it through a video player, we're going to try and zoom in on some of the art and stuff. I have already broken down the next dev stream so that I can go ahead and do that same recording, and I actually managed to put in some notes into my breakdown so that I would know why I kept those particular pieces in. I did not do that for this one, but I am learning. Okie dokie. For this particular dev stream, they went over all of the artwork, so basically I'm probably going to scan through and grab a hold to the artwork. I'm pretty sure there were pieces in here where they were saying things that might have been of significance, but it was a 2-hour stream, and I cut it down to 38 minutes. So we're going to try really hard to condense this as much as possible. This is the production of all of the stuff and things that they did. This is the reason why I wanted it, so we could actually, it's probably a bit pixelated, but we can actually zoom in and see some of the stuff and things that they've been working on. That's so much better. That is so much better. I wanted the ability to scan in without having to take 5,000 still shots. We'll see how it looks in post. I have no idea. Let's see, some of the things that I can point out. Obviously, these umbrellas look really neat. Wow, those bookshelves. Are those going to replace other bookshelves, or are these like the cabinet sizes for what we have as far as blocks go? Of course, we have the ham radio. And we've got some new planters, which are pretty cool. I saw those inside some POIs, which is the next video that we'll be doing. And those will probably come out in the same week so I can get caught up again, because I'm really behind on these. Most people have already seen all of this information before I get done with the edits, but I struggled really hard this weekend to make sure I could get caught back up. Later on it talks about those. The hedges are pretty cool. I did find out that the propane tanks do indeed explode. There's tons and tons of pictures. Oh, is that a feeder? Down here, is that a feeder? It might be. On the farms, perhaps. I don't know. Let's move on to the next picture. Okay, let me zoom in, because that was like the whole purpose in doing that. And by the way, I did catch where they said that the chemistry station will likely not be in this alpha. It will be in the next alpha, but they are working on a new chemistry station. So they've got the art direction. They took a whole bunch of pieces that they wanted in there, and they kind of told them where they wanted on there. So then there was a concept art. Someone kind of put all those pieces together, and then they sent it off for the modeling and everything else like that. Basically, this right here happened with every single thing that they worked on. There was like several layers to all of this, and different people were responsible for different things and different pieces of the 3D modeling. Like one person did the 3D modeling, one person did the paint, one person did the shading. It sounded very complicated. I think it would be very interesting to see this in progress one time, but I think I would get lost if I was to watch it. Apparently, there are a whole lot more stuff and things that are going into the improved glass shards to make sure the refracting looks right for the doors, because all of the doors are going to have like this breakthrough mechanic where as you break the door, you can basically hit through the door. So any of the glass panels, anything like that, they had to be able to fracture and reflect light properly. So that's basically what this one was showing. Emissive light color matching, so people would have more control over the lighting that they used inside the POIs. Technical props, they did a ton of technical props. And of course, she's a very technical prop. Whenever we were looking at the Rex building, I said that looked very different, the piping and stuff. I know this is probably pixelated. I do apologize. This is the best way I could think of doing this. The piping had a lot of detail that was actually in there. Apparently, what they were doing, instead of making them into blocks, they were making what they called kits, and those kits could be manipulated. There was several different what they called kits, and I'm assuming those kits had different shapes that people could use for different items. And part of that was actually the piping and stuff like that. So those are props, not blocks, which is cool. Zoom all over the place. And then, of course, they did the reflections, which they were very happy with. If you look right here, you can see a reflection of this right here. It's actually looking pretty good. I'm only kind of terrified about what this is going to do with FPS. And then proper shading on foliage. I saw that in action when they were walking around. I have no idea how that's going to interact. But according to them, they did a whole lot of AI tweaks, because for anybody who's played this alpha, you know the hardest hit to the FPS is when the zombies come in. When there's a whole bunch of zombies, which is a zombie game, you need zombies. The biggest hit is the zombies. The second is when you go into a city that has a whole lot of glass, which they also worked on. So those are the two main things that were causing FPS drops for me. I'm not sure about everybody else, but definitely for me. Okay, and then we saw more of the trader locations. We've got Bob's, we've got Jen's, and we've got Hughes, I think. I'm pretty sure that's Hughes. I think so. Well, we can do a little bit of a zoom in. It's going to pixelate too much to really be able to see it, but these things are like full-on compounds here. He's got his usual, it kind of looks like a treehouse thing, but it does have the helipad, or helicopter pad. We've got Jen's here, which is a church. It's like the old church building from way back when, plus the hazmat tents that we saw before. And then we've got Bob's, which is a full-on junkyard, but it's also got the helipad, and if I'm not mistaken, beside each one of these, it still has the ham radios. So I'm going to stick my tinfoil hat on again and say that I think that's actually going to come into play. I don't know when. It might not even come into play until the gold version when we start getting missions that have to do with the casino and all of those people like that. So it may not be useful now, but I think it's going to come into play later on. There's a whole lot, I mean like a whole lot to see in Bob's area, and this kind of looks like a chunky Freddy Krueger standing back here in this picture. That's creepy. I had nightmares about Freddy Krueger when I was little. Something about something that can attack you in dreams really freaked me the hell out. And then we've got Jen's, who is a full-on, basically she looked like she was a FEMA camp or something like that, but it looks like she's gone from being a FEMA camp where people were getting help to actually doing horticulture, growing her own herbs. I'm pretty sure this is aloe and stuff, and there are hospital beds and everything else. And then we've got this. It's a full-on hunting cabin. Looks like you should probably go here, sit by the fire, sip some hot chocolate, go skiing, the whole 9 yards. These are very, very blurry. I do apologize. These are tiny pictures to start with. For some reason, during the art thing, I noticed that they had a lot of art that were tiny, tiny pictures for no reason. It hurt my eyeballs. Okay. We've got trader signs on every single one of them. Apparently, this one right here is the Gen sign for outside, and this is Gen sign for inside, and apparently these guys did not get an inside and outside sign, so sorry dudes. Alright, and then we had a new dude come in. I think he comes in a bit later because he also does some of the Alpha 22 plus stuff at the end, so we'll see him again. But he worked on all of the alcohol containers, so we have like a tequila. There's 3 major ones apparently in this world. We have tequila, we have vodka, and we have bourbon? Okay. I'm not sure if it's like a whiskey something or another, but yeah, these designs are really, really cool. There's the bourbon, which looks pretty cool. It's very, very faded. I like the way that those looked. They looked very worn. I don't think this is a worn version of the same thing, but that's the vodka. There we go. He also did all of the vending machine. All of the vending machines, you can actually see through them now. You'll be able to see the candies and stuff. You won't. I don't think, I'm pretty sure, because they've shown several images of the vending machines, that you're not going to actually see what's inside the vending machine by looking at the outside. But this is a whole lot of great art for all of the vending... A lot of these vending machine candies, a lot of these kind of look like similar to real life candies. Yeah, those are the other sets. So there's chips, there's crackers, and all kinds of stuff. I have a feeling that these assets actually belong in the game. I know that these are the icons. Whenever they're like in your toolbar or whatever, you'll see these icons. But I don't think there's going to be anything that will allow you to use these unless modders open those up for actual use in-game. Yeah, these are the vending machines, and there's the non-broken part. The broken part should be interesting to be able to tell the broken ones from the non-broken ones before you even start going up and getting your hopes up. You'll know which ones you need to break down. All right, and here we've got a whole lot of targets, several different designs, but I think they said that only a couple of these exist in the game already. And I think it's this one and... No, it's this one and this one. A problem with if you go through and actually copy their medals. But these are derived off of actual medals. So Trader Hugh is a war vet. And according to this, his middle name... Let's see, Sergeant Henry Herschel Hughes from the Marine Corps. 83 to, is that '06? Yeah, I think so. It looks like '06. Highly decorated. All right, and then the artist for these things said that they were not a weapons expert, so they made a whole bunch of blueprints. They did a whole lot of references, but there's probably going to be things that are inside these that people will be able to pick apart, assuming you can actually see them in-game enough to be able to pick them apart. And then we've got other schematics as well. And even being able to zoom in, I can't really tell that much about it. 2013 is when it was made. Not really in real life. Percival! 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 We got it now. Alright. Just going to start calling him Percy from now on. Then we've got this one, and he actually did all of the labeling for all of the different parts, so he said there's a really good chance that something is wrong and that people can rag him for it. So there you go. If you are a gun nut and you know the names of all of the bits and pieces, have at it. There is... Now, these I absolutely love. We've got the Marine Corps, we've got the Don't Tread on Me, and we've got the Palmea. Or Palmea, I should say. I say Palmea because it just rolls off the tongue, but that's not actually how it says. The POW flag, the Don't Tread on Me, and the Marine Corps flag. Those are really good adaptations. I like those. I am horrible with names. But basically, I think you had...
We had to do a lot of
Okay, I have to remember the voice. Basically, he was in charge of putting them all in world, I'm pretty sure, and aging them. But putting them in to where they actually look correct inside a POI. So it wasn't just a matter of creating the props, it was also creating the props in the proper scales, aging them to where they look like they belong in the environment, and then adding them into the POIs as art pieces. So there's a whole situation going on. All right, and then we have the hazmat tents, but it's not just the hazmat tents. It's hazmat tents, it's camouflage tents, it's blue tents. Basically, all of these tents are all the same thing, except they've got different color shades and different pieces, so it's a modular kit, so people can build different size tents. That's how it actually looks in game. Before it was kind of washed out. This has actually got some shading and stuff. Final bit right here where it's got the full shading. You can see the little indents where the sewing bits would have been. It looks really, really good with the cross beats right here. Cross beats, cross beams right there. I like that. That looks really, really cool. And that's a white one, and it's very, very dirty. So even from this one that looks kind of cleanish to this one, which looks grimy as everything. Look at that. Looks like it's been there for a minute. So this is probably going to be one that's like out in world. And they've also got these blood bags that showed up a couple of times that look really, really good. But I can tell you, those are probably not good anymore. Don't use that. And those are those in real life. There's another one of the police cars that we're not supposed to be asking about because every time it gets brought up, people are like, no. And there's the 5,000 doors again. See, it completely shifts. It's a little bit unrealistic, but I think it would happen so fast you probably wouldn't notice in game. What's really interesting, though, is this is no longer a block. They used to have porta potties, or whatever you call them in your area, porta-johns, but now instead of just porta-johns being made out of blocks and you can't fit a zombie inside, now there's actually space inside a prop for the zombie to hide in.
From residential to commercial.
I remember when the sliding doors were, starting to become a thing, and people were like, I don't know if we can do that just because of, zombies crawling through on the ground, and, what if they're in the way and it closes on them, but they figured it out.
Yeah, it's well worth it. Kind of, you probably see at shops and stores at the mall. Yeah, we got elevators and...
The well worth it part kind of concerns me. I'm like sitting here thinking, okay, so it's well worth it. Did you guys figure out how to make these zombies more complicated because of them? These 3 crates down here are the writable crates, but they are Alpha 20 plus, 22 plus, so they're not going to show up, but these are all the workbenches. They're destroyed form, they're regular form, and the player vending machine. Vehicles, now there's still the whole... They're not really talking about what's going on with the police vehicle. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go to the last video, because there was a chance when they said, are we going to talk about the police cars? And they said, no, let's don't talk about it. And then I think it's the POI episode, the next episode, where they say the same thing. Just don't talk about it. Just don't bring it up. Don't talk about it. And also, all of those vehicles have broken down vehicle bits, and they also have the stacked vehicles. Plus, they added in the fire truck and the 18-wheeler, neither of which can be driven. I'm pretty sure at some point or another, some mod authors are going to be like, yeah, but what if we could? And then we've got some big honking machinery here, and they've got, I'm pretty sure the forklift, they said that they can put it to where they could put the pallets on there properly, and I'm pretty sure they said that they can put vehicles inside the clamps of these things, so it's not just like a decoration that's just going to sit there. They're going to be able to build items around it, which is pretty cool. Back to signs, and coming Alpha 22 Plus is this sign, which is weird because I got Bob's sign right here. Maybe it's because they're going to have two different Bob signs and the second Bob sign isn't ready. The Duke's Casino is going to exist later, so they've already worked on the sign for that, which is pretty neat. Okay, and then we got Noel, and you are talking about all of the brand new piping. These are piping kits instead of blocks like they were before, and these are also the blocks that have got the fire damage, which was one of the things that they wanted to do, plus they've got these little tanks right here. I'm pretty sure these tanks right here are just like meters and stuff, but that's all the stuff that they did. And here's a whole lot more art. This is like another one of those pictures that was really, really tiny. I'm like, why did you make this? Why is it such a tiny picture? Okay, I'm pretty sure this is the Duke's flag, the Don't Tread on Me flag, which is the Try and Take It flag, the Marine flag, the Palmea flag. I'm saying Marine flag, but that's not actually what they are, but that's what it is. The Fun Pips now have a flag, and there are some hidden mushrooms in here, so the artwork for the mushrooms has changed. We've got the horseshoes, which were shown in the last one anyway. I can tell you these lanterns look really, really cool. They've got one with a tiny little stake, one with like a road tie, not a road tie, a railroad tie? Yeah, one that can hold onto the ceiling, and then we've got all of these. We've also got these really tiny pieces, which is where the artwork takes a different turn for me. All of the other stuff I was not necessarily... I was interested because as a prop item, because I've actually been working on my own POI for a long time. I did do another POI that is on Nexus. That is a PvP arena that someone asked about. I've actually got another POI that I've been working on for a long time that I have to completely revamp ever since they started the tiling systems because it doesn't fit into the tiles. But these remind me strongly of Fallout. And it's not just those, it's seeing it like this. So instead of having like one piece walls, they have sections of walls. They have corrugated metal against the wall. They have not just solid piece walls like we normally do, that there's also these pieces that are open, that the wood pieces are sitting like this instead of straight across. Those are very interesting. Plus, here is, you can kind of see it a little bit better, and I think it shows again later on, but basically there are block kits, but this feels very familiar to Fallout, in my opinion. It seems like it came straight from that. These sectional building pieces were definitely like a staple in that game. They've got lockers, they've got all of these crates, which are pretty neat. And these are the actual kits. This is a slightly bigger picture, but you can put it here. This is more what I was saying when it felt like Fallout. But putting things like this means people can modulate these pieces together and give a whole lot more interesting dynamics to certain things instead of having to use blocks. Plus, according to them, maybe not on the horizontal pieces, but at least on the vertical pieces, there are sleeves and stuff that make it to look like it doesn't have like overlapping weird glitchy pieces, but it looks like a straight shot all the way down smooth wood, which will make, you know, anybody who builds a lot happier instead of like fighting meshes and stuff like that, which is pretty sweet. And this is like a little area that was built up. I really like this. Because these right here, these look like the railings in Fallout. I'm just going to keep saying that because a lot of the bits and bobs that I have seen for this alpha kind of give me that feeling. Okay, and here's another modular piece that can stack on top of each other and you can't see the seams to it. So yeah, all of it's showing. So it's all of these bits and pieces and you can build with these. I say you can build with these, like POI builders can build with these. These are not going to be available for people to use in the base game, sadly. Pretty cool and a whole lot more realistic than the logs that were existing beforehand. You loot, I shoot, and apparently a mark of how many people just obviously did not listen to what they were saying. And sadly, this is a still picture. It shows it during the prop stuff, that this door is actually animated. You can see the little pieces of wood and stuff moving, which is pretty cool. Okay, and here's where they go into a lot of 3D modeling talk and how it works and stuff. But I'm just going to kind of pop back and forth. This is the model that they made. And that's the final version, and I'm not sure whether or not this has different colors. But yeah, I don't know how people do this. This is beyond me. 3D modeling is beyond my brain. And it looks awesome. And that's the tractor. And the final bit, and I'm pretty sure they said something about that one having different colors. Okay, and then we've got this. Now, there was some confusion while they were talking about this particular piece, which, first off, you're wondering, okay, exactly what is this decoration for? Why was this prop built? Let me put my tinfoil hat back on because of the way that they were talking. This is actually not going to be in this alpha. Lathan seemed to be a little bit on the fence about whether or not this was going to show up in this alpha, because this has something to do with something that doesn't exist in the game yet. And what they were talking about is the Duke's Casino and Noah's bunker, I guess you could say. Yeah. I think those are shown in the prop thing, which is next time. But he seemed to be hinting that this is one of the decorations that was going to be around one of those two places. So even though it doesn't have Alpha 22 plus, that might very well be Alpha 22 plus. So sadly, if you're looking forward to decorating your POIs with that, you may not have it yet. Okay, and then apparently we've got one of the Joels, and I'm going to say one of the Joels because I think they've got like 5 or 10, possibly even 20 Joels and stuff. Lots of people with J names. I will just say that. I can't keep track of everybody. But apparently he was the male model, and they put him in charge of bodybuilding. So here is one of the Raider ladies, and of course they did the same type of 3D modeling thing. They went in, they built the body up, and then from this they took it and made a what they call a high poly, which is actually kind of inverse of what you would think, a amount of polygons that they can put into this character, making it to where it doesn't look janky when moving, makes it look as realistic as it can without causing FPS problems, which is what that part did. And then they started adding in the colorations, which is really, really cool. These are very, very good artwork. They brought on a whole lot of people from a different group, and a whole lot of them had worked on stuff and things that kind of give them the want to do a lot of Mad Max feels to it. So a lot of these people very much have a Mad Max feel to them. This one is the Wasteland Assassin. And we can look really closely here. I see scissors, I see a screwdriver, a knife. Is that a paintbrush and a pencil? I don't know what all he's got going on, but he's got lots of stuff and things going on here. Here we go, here we go. A little bit more zoomed out. He's got the cowl, he's got the glasses. This feels very Mad Max. I mean, extremely Mad Max to me. That does look really, really cool, though. Now, my only concern is the label that they gave it, which is the Wasteland Assassin. Now, this is Alpha 22 plus. They're not actually bringing the characters in. They're not bringing the Raiders in until 22 plus. So all of this stuff, I think, from here on out is Alpha 22 plus. My issue is during this particular section, they start talking about player characters. It feels like an RPG if you have to pick a player character. Now, maybe if you spec into it and you opt into playing this character at some point or another, you can spec into getting this type of armor. And then we have the Raider boss, which is pretty badass looking, I must say. Looks very fit, very pokey, very I don't want to brush against him whenever walking through the mall next to anybody. That kind of thing. There's a lot of detail, a lot of storytelling having to do with all of the characters and stuff, and apparently all the way up to, like, apparently his kill count. For a Raider boss, you need to get your numbers up, I'm just saying. But he's supposed to be very beefy and easy to recognize from far away. That's the reason why they built him. And then we have another player character, which is, yet again, another thing that's kind of confusing me. This is another player called Hoarder, and this is the high poly, which, you know, looks really, really cool. If you've ever seen Labyrinth, the little chick that's walking around in the garbage disposal area, That's what this looks like. There's a whole lot of detail in here. There's just so many stuff and things, and apparently there are hidden gems to be found inside this guy's outfit. Let's zoom down here and take a peek. Is that in? Yeah. Okay, we've got several different pairs of glasses. We've got a... But basically, it just looks like every single time he walked by something that could move at all, I mean, like move even in the slightest, even if he had to dig a little bit and it just looked remotely useful, he strapped it or taped it to himself somewhere. All of it. All of the things are strapped everywhere. It even looks like he's got fruit falling out the bottom of his stuff. He's got a can in here. There's candy strapped everywhere. There's all kinds of stuff every single place. That's a crowbar. Got binoculars. Do we actually have binoculars in the game? Probably not, but he's got them inside his backpack. What is the purpose in this headset? Now I'm going back to the whole what's going on with the helicopter pads in every single town. So that's another player character. Still kind of concerned about that concept of player character stuff and things. Then we have Lee, who is actually talking about the new body and how they're trying to get it to work for the next alpha. Not this upcoming alpha, but 22 plus. They're actually going to do a whole new character body, basically. There's going to be a whole lot of customization. Let me get back to where I show the faces down here. See just the small difference in faces? It looks really, really good. We got a whole lot, like you could do an older character, a younger character. We've got this one, which is not a player character. This is just desert gear. Now, just to make sure that you understand what I said is the developers actually said this is a player character and this is desert gear. I'm confused, and they really didn't actually define what they meant. What do they mean by player character, and what does that have to do with desert gear? Because right now, if, say, you have an assassin, but you go into the desert and you wear this, do you take off your assassin outfit? Do they layer? Does this go underneath? If that's the case, then why put this much artwork into something that's going to be covered up? Or if the armor, the assassin gear, gets covered up, then why put so much effort into that if you're... Nobody walks around without clothes on. Well, they might. I take it back. Some people do. Some people do. I'm confused about the outfits and the player characters as they're talking about them. I'm kind of curious and yet scared at the same time to find out what on earth they mean by this. There are a lot of details with this character. I can tell you he'd probably be very groovy to hang out with. And then we've got the lady character. Apparently Jen is getting replaced-ish. Not really. I don't think that's really going to happen. And I have no idea whether or not they answered whether or not she's going to have jiggle physics like Jen does, but apparently this is the desert gear as well for the ladies, you know, because that's how you definitely dress in a desert. Obviously. This is an awesome looking character though. That is a very, very good artwork. And then they said some random stuff that may or may not actually get done. They're talking about different UI concepts, trying to figure out how to change the gridding pattern, and they mentioned being able to change where your grid shows up yourself. I've played games where you can actually change and pin certain menus where you want them. Like RimWorld is one that I played where I would pin certain stats up to the corner that I wanted to keep an eye on. Certain things that I needed to keep track of. It seems like they might be trying something like that for Alpha 22 plus. And then they talked about was the concept art for the vehicles. They are probably going to be getting an update between now and Gold. And to look at these, they look pretty cool. So let's zoom in on those. This is just concept art. These are not actually in-game. And it's 22 plus. This is really, really cool. I wonder what causes them to... Okay, this looks like they're actually going to make this one a 4-seater. Because it's only a 2-seater now, right? It looks like they might add 4 seats. But they're also trying to, now that they have re-skinned and remade the player character, they're going to try and make it to where the characters can interact with their vehicles in different ways. Like, they can stand on the side of the vehicle, maybe stand up in the back of the vehicle, something like that. Or if you want to, you can ride with one person on here and one person on your handlebars, stuff like that. They're going to try different ways of doing it now that the player character has been made different. And the animations are actually being re-rigged, I guess. Also, I don't know who did the concept art for this, but have you ever actually crashed your toilet? Not that I've crashed my toilet, but it's ceramic. it breaks. Why would you strap it to a seat? Like, well, you made a seat out of it. I could think of so many things that I would much rather not have on the back of my mini bike. I know it's not going that fast, but if it falls over, you're going to have shards of glass, or ceramic rather, in your back. Why would you do this? I mean, it looks cool. This is one of those 5-minute crafts that somebody was like, can I do this instead of should I do this? And this is definitely Alpha 22 Plus, and this is the Duke and Noah designs. Duke's casino tokens, those things have existed in the game for ages. Apparently there has always been this concept of there being a casino. Now, he said that this is probably going to set some people off, that they'll understand what this is, and they named whatever it was, but in my head this whole time, all I could think is Fallout New Vegas. I mean, I get it, they probably modeled it after something else, I don't remember what they said, but it just gives me Fallout New Vegas vibes. And then we have this, and I feel like I should be tossing a dwarf, or getting him a box to stand on. And these are both concept designs, because some of these things, like in this particular one, they're not sure whether or not they can build this POI where it can go underground and exist under a mountain every single time they build it. So like if you do a random gen and you want Noah's compound to show up, it might be kind of hard for the world to render in a mountain for it. But those are the concepts for it. It should be relatively interesting if they can pull these things off. Yeah, and it doesn't... I see that obstacle course here, and I see trucks here, but it does not look like... At 3/10, I would not say that that's a huge response to... I would not say 3/10 is a huge response. So I'm going to say that this place was probably taken over or vacated pretty quickly after the outbreak. This has more tents and more response, so there was more of a response here. We also have the helipad, and we've got a building next to it, and a helipad, and what looks like a ham radio next to it. So, tinfoil hat on. Yet again, there's a connection. I swear, guys, I don't know what the connection is, but there is definitely a connection. Here we go. Yeah, right there, right there. It also looks like there's a statue, a tall dude statue. Now, this is not in-game art, obviously. This is just their ideas for what it's going to look like. So obviously a lot of stuff and things change. It also kind of looks like Tenpenny Tower to me, just a little bit, which is Fallout 3. And then a clearer picture of this one. I don't see any new details. It's a little bit easier to see the obstacle course sitting here, but I don't see a whole lot. If there was a military something or another, either they cleaned it up or there wasn't a whole lot of response here. Like maybe this base was... I don't know, abandoned before the outbreak happened or something, or they just retreated inside and chose not to get involved. Who knows? Noah and their people could have been there during the outbreak. But, ladies and gentlemen, that is it. I have spoken for 50 minutes. Oh my God. Ladies and gentlemen, that is it. I want you to join me for the next episode of this, which will come out later on, where I give you my theory with proof that I know when the apocalypse happened in the game. I'll see you next time. You have a wonderful day, a wonderful night, and you stay shiny.